Gman.
Adeley.
Episode 10.
Double digits.
Double digits. Thank you to everyone that has been following this journey. Addy and Gman. A lot of you guys were asking for it for a long time. I didn't know if we were going to get to episode 10, but we're here because of your support, so we appreciate it. Let's get into this. Let's start with the weekend's boxing. Let's start on Friday night. That was the Pat Brown show.
That was the Pat Brown show. And quite a show he made.
Yeah.
You know what I seen? I seen some people say, he doesn't look that impressive. You're like, hang on a minute. A debutant going in there against the guy who went in there, that's actually quite impressive.
Yeah, and I like the way he fights.
Exactly.
And look, I don't know the ceiling of that type of style of fighting, but I think it's entertaining.
If nothing else, we'll get some big nights, big entertaining nights.
Agreed. I mean, I don't know how many were there. I weren't there, obviously. I think someone told me a couple of thousand, which for your debut, and let's be honest, all those tickets are his. I mean, he's selling all those tickets, but he's aggressive. He's got punch power. He's the perfect age. Normally with Olympians, they're rushed because they're old, because they've stayed amateur for too long. He's 25.
He's 25. No miles on the clock. I love his style. I think, as I said, man, I think we're going to have fun with this kid.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do wonder what they're going to do, because Sam Jones will talk him up like Sam Jones does, right? And that's good. No dig at Sam Jones. I mean, I want a manager to do all those things. But I do wonder how quick they're going to try and go. Because I look at someone like Isaac Chamberlain's English champion.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Is he got his eyes on, in the distant future, Chef Clark versus Vidal Rai? Do you know what I mean? Like, how far in the distance in the future is Pat Brown and that team looking?
I think he's a while away from that. Okay. I think I look at someone like a Chamberlain, and I think that style is, for a debutant, still finding his feet. I know he was aggressive and he was a good amateur, but for a debutant fighting his feet, man, I'd say probably the next 2 years are going to be a learning 2 years.
Good.
And at that point then, we don't know where the landscape is going to be with the Vidal Rileys and Isaac Chamberlains, but I think at that point we'll start to see him make his name on the domestic scene.
Yeah, but very good debut. So well done to
debut.
Pat Brown. All right, let's cross over to America. Michaela Meyer versus Sandy Ryan 2. What did you say for prediction?
I was adamant Sandy Ryan would win this fight.
Same.
I was literally, there was no doubt in my mind Sandy Ryan. Shout out to Michaela Meyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
She proved us all wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
She proved a lot of people wrong.
Many people say, and they, you can't really argue, that Michaela Meyer should actually be undefeated.
Okay, Tasha Jonas draw.
Tasha Jonas
No, was that
lost,
a draw or defeat? Lost and Alicia
Baumgardner, who's straight out calling her name again. A lot, and I'm not going to lie, the Baumgardner fight, when I first seen it, I just thought Michaela Meyer did nick it.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was close. Look, close. She's been in close fights, right? But this one wasn't close.
No.
The first fight was, this one wasn't. Sandy threw all her boxing skills out the window. And look, she isn't as good a boxer as Michaela. We know that.
No.
But she's got boxing skills. And she said, okay, I'm going to brawl. And I thought she just lost composure. I thought the game plan kind of went out the window. And Michaela Meyer just kind of, at some parts in that fight, kind of boxed rings around her. And then even when Sandy had success, Michaela Meyer was just so smart, kind of hooking her up, locking her in, just smart little things.
Michaela Meyer learned from that first fight.
Yeah.
Sandy Ryan just took anger. It's the best way. From what I saw there, it was like, I'm angry about the first fight. I'm going to hurt you. But I didn't learn anything from the first fight. Michaela Meyer, very close fight first time, was like, right, this is what I'm going to do this time. And she did it. Yeah,
she did it. She did it well. As for Sandy, look, I think Sandy can still hang around at that level, whether it be at 147 or 154. I think she's got enough about her. And I think, again, she'll learn from it. As for Michaela, I mean, all roads lead to Lauren Price. Did you see enough in that performance to think that's going to be a good fight?
I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Lauren Price is just, honestly, she is something different. I mean, she never looked bad in her career, but that Tasha Jonas fight, man, she is going to take.
But that is Tasha at the end.
That is Tasha at the end.
That's Tasha at the end. Whereas Michaela's fought Alicia Baumgardner at her absolute peak.
At her absolute peak.
Tasha not at the end. And Sandy now at her peak. So she's got those wins under the belt that Lauren doesn't have yet.
No, she doesn't have. But I just think it's like the eye test. When you see Lauren Price, I just think her ceiling is just so much higher. I think that she's almost one of these fighters, just from what I've seen, where once the level rises, she rises with it.
Yeah.
And I think Michaela Meyer, she'll have to raise it even more than Tasha Jonas, because Tasha Jonas, we love her, but at the end of her career, Michaela Meyer's in her peak.
Yeah, no, she is. Good luck to all of those ladies. I think some good fights. Finally, I think we're starting to see some matchups sort of come to the fore. It's almost felt like there's been semi-finals and quarterfinals all over the place.
It does. It feels. It's weird. Like, it's like,
I'm
just get it done.
but we want you see you fight you. But I've got to get through that person first. And all of a sudden now we've got Michaela, Meyer, Lauren Price, hopefully sometime maybe in the autumn, I'm guessing. Brian Norman was on that card as well. Obviously a welterweight champion that not many people talk about.
It's weird. Like welterweight champions are normally like, we've always
It's
talked
been the
about
marquee
it's been
division.
that division.
It's been over the last 20 years, it's been as good as the heavyweight division.
It's been par. Sometimes the heavyweight division like is a little bit on the dip side. Welterweight division comes to the forefront, vice versa. But it's never been, if you were a champion at 147, you knew who that champion was.
You were the man.
You were the man.
Yeah.
Whatever belt you had, you're like, oh, what about Floyd versus who? You know, this guy has just gone so under the radar.
Yeah,
It's
and he, he had this issue, didn't he, with Ennis, where they kind of felt like the unification fight was there, and Eddie made it obvious or made it seem as though Brian Norman's team and his dad were like, no, we don't want that fight for whatever reason. Who knows what goes on behind the scenes, right? But ultimately, we didn't get that fight. I think Norman now is chasing down Barrios, and then I mean, what I'd like to see, I'd love to see that happen. Obviously, we've got Ennis versus Stanionis. Let's get an undisputed.
Exactly.
We're not that far away. We're actually not that far away.
We're very
Ennis
close.
beats
Ennis
Stanionis.
beats Stanionis.
Stanionis beats Ennis. We're close.
Yeah.
We're so close. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Ennis going to 154 pounds. If you can make 147 safely, I say stick around, become the outright number one, and then make the jump.
And if he become unified, no more IBF rehydration.
True.
So we can really say we're seeing Boots at his best, because I think that's killing him.
Yeah,
that rehydration clause.
Can't
It
wait
really
for that
is.
fight, by the way.
I can't wait. It's going to be epic, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple of weeks away. That's
Live on DAZN.
Live on DAZN. Company man, a couple of weeks away from it. Zepeda versus Farmer in Mexico. Zepeda got the W again. I'm going to try and word this correctly. I think I tweeted this as well, actually. I said, I don't know if Farmer is so underrated and we've got it wrong, or if Zepeda has been so overrated and we've got it wrong.
That's the big question. Do you know what the one thing I looked at when I was looking at Tevin Farmer in that fight and thinking, imagine if he could punch. He would be such a nightmare.
I think he's only got 8 knockouts in his 34 wins or something. Yeah.
Any knockouts, even at world level, he's got none at all. But then you look at Zepeda and you're like, how is it? But you look at the Maxi Hughes fight. Maxi Hughes, school Gary Cully, beat Cambosis. Zepeda just went through him like a knife through butter.
That's why I was so like, oh my God, Zepeda versus Shakur is going to be incredible. And again, this is why I guess I go back to that same point. Have we completely underrated Tevin Farmer?
I think potentially.
Now maybe Zepeda is that good, but maybe Farmer's just a style that's... And Farmer's back's against the wall. At his age, no real big promoter behind him. He's almost doing it by himself.
Exactly.
So maybe it's a case of this is the last roll of the dice. And maybe we are seeing the best of him because he knows it's close to being the end of him.
It's close to being the end of him. He's standing his ground a lot more. And I think, in some ways, Tevin Farmer in his prime was a mover.
Yeah.
And I think now he's realising, maybe I should never have been a mover. Maybe my best actual thing is to just stand my ground. I did think at times in that fight he looked a bit strange. Like, do you remember in the second round, he just seemed to freeze when he got hurt.
Yeah.
And just didn't do anything. And
Yeah, it's
happened a few
almost
times.
it's almost like the punches froze him.
Exactly.
But then when he woke up and started throwing back,
oh man, he was lighting him up.
yeah.
It was
Zepeda's output, by the way, is
insane.
incredible. I almost feel like it's too much.
I think so.
Like, you don't need to throw that many. Like, maybe sit on your shots a bit more, because right now it's loads of punches, but I don't know if there's anything in those punches because there's so many of them.
He's wasting so many shots. Like, here's the thing. You can throw 1,200 punches a fight. That's brilliant. How many of those are landing shots?
Yeah. How many of those are big concussive punches?
Exactly. You know?
If anything, it was Farmer that landed the big shots.
Yeah. I mean, I would always say, give me quality over quantity any day of the week, because the quality shots are the ones that are going to hurt you.
Yeah. Do you think Zepeda has any shot against Shakur Stevenson?
No.
Okay.
No. But I always felt that going into it. I always thought it'd be a fun fight. It'd bring out something different in Shakur. The only thing I will say is, and you spoke about it before, seeing Shakur's hands up close.
Bad.
Very bad. Yeah. Now,
I don't know if
someone
Shakur is
like
scared to sit on his shots, because, you know, when you throw with real mean intentions, I think he's thinking something could happen to my hands.
That's the one thing I worry about. As good a boxer as he is, Zepeda's going to be on you like a bad smell.
Got to throw.
How are you going to keep him off if you're too afraid to just actually let not that you're getting hit, that you're going to hurt your hand?
Yeah. I don't mind saying it. 2 unbeaten fighters. You've got a Mexican style, African-American style. They always seem to do well, those fights. It brings out a different demographic, different fan base. I like it. I think that's going to happen next.
I hope so.
As well, by the way. All right, let's get to the big news this week. There should be a drum roll here. Deontay Wilder was the big news at the start of the week. We've both done videos on it. I spoke to the Bronze Bomber a couple of days ago on the Ariel and Ade show. It looks like he's in good spirits.
He does. Now, it seems like he's in good spirits. He's not deluding himself this time. You know, thinking I can come back into a big fight and I'll lose that, but I'll come back in. He's like, I'm going to have 3 fights this year. They're going to be rebuilding fights. Me personally, right, he's going on 40. I don't know how you rebuild from 39 to 40. You just don't do it.
You don't. I mean, and it's funny, during that interview, this was the first time when I've kind of been at odds with myself, because I know what I wanted to say to him. I wanted to say no. That was my no, Wilder, but I thought that would be disrespectful, and that's just not what you do as a proper broadcaster journalist. But I almost looked at him and I was like, just stop. Like, you've done everything. Like when he first laced up the gloves and got that Olympic bronze medalist, like bronze medal, when he turned pro, the dream would have been make enough money for your daughter and obviously secure your own future, and in the wildest of dreams, become a world champion. You were a long reigning WBC champion. What else is, like, what are the dreams now?
And you've made millions more than you could ever believe.
Yes, way more. Those Fury fights alone, he must have pocketed around 60, 70 million for those Fury fights.
But you said it there. I mean, what is the reason to stay? I've never understood that with boxers. And Lennox Lewis used to speak about that. He said there's always that itch. When you've done it once, you want to do it again. But there's a difference between doing it at 29 and doing it at 39.
Yeah, and there's also a difference in jumping straight back in there with another killer.
Exactly.
Which is, okay, I would rather him go straight... Look, I don't want to see him fight at all, but I'd rather him go straight in with someone as opposed to fighting people we don't know, and then what, you knock him out, what? What does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't mean you're back. It means you're fighting people at such a low level that obviously you're going to knock him out. Yeah,
you feel comfy to let your right hands go against this guy or that guy.
Because you know not much is coming back.
Not much is coming back. You go in there with Martin Bakoli, you go in there with F.A. Jagba, Daniel Dubois, you see what'll happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too keen on it. It's going to happen.
What do you think about him doing it in these like kind of small locations, like Wichita, Kansas?
Yeah.
It's not a place you'd associate really with boxing in the nicest way. He's talking about doing them in smaller locations. Do you think that would actually help him? That there's literally no pressure. Yeah. You're in a place where these guys are probably not even boxing fans. They're just like, will turn up to see. Do you think that will help him? Because he's putting pressure on himself by going to Saudi. I want the AJ fight. I want all this. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Yeah, all the pressure is on him now. He's like, no pressure. Go and do my thing.
Yeah, and he just turns up on a Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
There's probably a 10-minute press conference. There is no grand arrivals. He's not being interviewed by 1,000 different journalists and YouTubers and me asking probing questions. He will literally turn up on Friday, do a presser, and Saturday put gloves on.
Exactly.
So maybe there is a bit of that as well. Maybe there is a bit of that, but I don't know, man. If you couldn't do it at 37, 38, 39, you're not going to do it close to 40.
Not going to do it
what's
close to 40.
changing here? Like, I don't see what changes.
He's not mentioned Joshua. He has said he wanted to be unified champion. And I will ask you this question, simple yes or no. Will Wilder be champion again?
No.
There you go. We're down to no. And I agree.
No. And again, we'll end on it, but I did say to him, like, the guys that you were coming up against or that you wanted to fight, Fury, you fought, AJ could be done, Usyk, couple left. You're now fighting a new breed. There's a new breed who are you 10 years ago. Killers. Killers waiting to take the scalp of Deontay Wilder.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a whole different ball game. So maybe he's in it just for fun fights. Maybe an AJ fight, if he comes through these two, is something the crowd will get behind and he still makes millions.
You know what I just thought of? Turkey Al-Sheikh, Frank Warren, Moses Athelma, Deontay Wilder next year. Could you see it?
Jeez.
I mean, I wouldn't be giving Wilder a prayer in that fight, but could you imagine?
All of a sudden, though, I don't know why I just pictured Wilder landing that right hand.
On a Athelma.
Just pictured it. Because it's still there, isn't it?
You don't lose that.
You don't lose the power. You lose the confidence to throw it.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, I don't want to see him fight, but I will tune in because Wilder is good
that big,
business.
When I said Athelma, that big smile.
Yeah, smile. It's weird because we always now speak about Athelma. We speak about Athelma as much as we did when AJ won Olympic gold and was coming through, if not more.
He's going to be a household name.
100%. He's going to be a world champion. I have no doubt about it. All right, let's talk about some household names. Last Crescendo, the pay-per-view buys came back. I never know if these numbers are true or not, but everyone seems to be reporting the same number, which is around 365,000 buys. Good or bad?
Brilliant.
Oh, I didn't put that as an option.
No,
okay.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. Listen, we look at that card and we say how good it was on paper, and it was amazing. Even just the card was special. But here's the thing. It was stacked with fighters, with good fights, Not stacked with household names.
Yeah, and not stacked with... There wasn't one guy on that fight card, I'm trying to go for it quickly in my head, maybe apart from Bivol, because of the Canelo fight,
yes,
that had been in a massive pay-per-view fight.
If Dubois had been on it,
then obviously...
It might have actually increased the numbers.
100%, by the way. If Joseph Parker Dubois happened, that probably goes past 400,000.
Oh, yeah, because I think a lot of people were waiting for the Dubois fight. We're going to buy it on fight night, as many do. Oh, he's gone. I'm not interested now. With the exception of him, that was it. I mean, you could say maybe Callum Smith against Canelo, but that was...
Yeah, but that's such a long time ago.
Such a long time ago. People have forgotten about that. Yeah. Everyone else, not really. I will say, Parker against Joshua.
Yeah.
But that was a fight that was a very long... People have probably forgotten about that.
Yeah, and Parker, since then, hasn't fought many pay-per-views. In fact, I don't think he's fought any pay-per-views
Joe
since
Joyce.
Then. Joe Joyce. Was that pay-per-view?
That was pay-per-view.
Bloody hell.
That was
okay,
pay-per-view.
Fair. Okay, so, yeah, again, no pay-per-view styles on it. And also, I think we do need to change our minds as to what is a big pay-per-view number.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't the days of Floyd, Cotto, and Manny Pacquiao, where if you touch 800 to 1 million, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Streaming's ruined that. People, getting these fire sticks has ruined that. Like, it isn't the same he's smiling for. It isn't the case anymore. No one does those type of numbers. Unless you're Canelo, AJ, Fury, maybe Gervonta, and Gervonta's numbers weren't great last time.
No.
You're not doing those kind of numbers, so I think it's good.
I think it is. And look, again, Ryan Garcia, Usyk, AJ, they can do it. But for a show like this, I think it's phenomenal. And as you say, Miguel Cotto, I mean, easily in the hundreds of thousands, Canelo, etc. But we don't have them. We're not getting them. Yeah. And for a show like this, brilliant.
How many buys do you think Dubois Parker does? Sorry, Dubois Usyk.
Worldwide?
No, UK. Just UK.
UK?
Okay, let's say Fury AJ does 1.5 million. I think with that... So what's the next one down?
I'm going to say it does. I'm actually going to go and stick my neck out in the line and say 1.2.
That many?
Well, he did, I think, nearly 1 million with Chisora. Wow. Usyk. So if he can do that with Chisora in a non-title fight with this, I'd say... In fact, actually, no, I might even go and say it actually could do on par. Maybe, no, 1.2. It's not going to do on par with Joshua Fury.
That surprised me. I didn't think you'd get anywhere near... I
No,
would have gone half that.
No, 1.2.
Really?
I'll stick my neck out.
Okay, then Chisora Dubois.
800, 900.
Wow, these are big numbers.
No, I reckon. Seriously,
these
I
are big
reckon
numbers.
that would
Okay,
be
that's
good
interesting.
numbers.
These are big numbers. So Dubois is now pay-per-view star then, in your eyes?
In my eyes, yeah. And as I said, if he had been on that show, we're talking 360 and we're saying that's brilliant, and it is brilliant. If he'd been on that show, top 400 easily.
Okay. On Chisora, very, very quickly, because we spoke about it a bit last week. Do you think he's got a chance here?
Oh, hell no.
You don't think, no, a chance of getting the fight?
Oh, getting the fight? I mean, I think if he gets it.
No.
I mean, it's, well, yeah. I think it's highly likely.
I think he's jumped Parker.
I think he has. I think it's highly likely.
Oh,
I think it's highly, because if you think about it like this, right, win or lose, so say, well, he's going to get a world title fight regardless. Say Dubois beats Alexander Usyk, right? I guarantee you they probably will do Usyk versus Dubois, or Dubois versus Chisora next. Yeah. I reckon he would jump Parker. If it's Usyk, different story. He might actually fight for a vacant title. Because I reckon Usyk could just
toss.
See it, bye-bye. We could have Chisora ending his career as world champion.
Wow.
But could you imagine that's possible? I mean, if say, when we look at down the rankings, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner.
The problem for him is if, say, he does throw away the IBF, and that's where Chisora is highly ranked, it'd have to fight the winner of Bakoli, F.A. Jagba, which I think will be Bakoli. Chisora
that's no longer a...
Well, are they what, then is that still...
That's foregone. That's foregone.
Wait, is Bakoli out of the rankings, though?
He's not out of the rankings, but he's dropped way down.
Okay.
As will a Jagba, I would imagine.
Interesting.
So if you look and you say, right, we're going down the rankings, you could end up, God forbid, you could end up having a rematch with Oliver Lean for the world title if enough people turn it down.
Jesus.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine Chisora? What a way to end it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
I find it all bizarre, but credit to Chisora for still being in there. And as much as I like to say retire, the fact is he's beaten Joe Joyce and Otto Wallin back to back.
If you want to be a bit more brutal, you could say, and not brutal, actually a bit more complimentary, not that you weren't, you could say since 2021,
here we go.
He's only lost one fight, and that was a world title fight to Tyson Fury.
When was Alexander Usyk?
2020.
Oh, look at you. You thought about this one, haven't you?
I thought about that one.
You thought about that one, innit? Okay, well, we'll see how we plays it. I think we are going to get an announcement very, very soon. Very, very soon. We're going to get an announcement as well about Fabio Wardley fighting at Portman Road.
I can't wait for that.
Very, very soon. I think we're going to get an announcement in the next couple of days about Fabio Wardley. And what a story that's been.
Amazing.
People talk about stories in boxing. I mean, a white collar fighter, no amateur fight at all, white collar now on the cusp of fighting at the very highest of world level in the heavyweight division at Portman Road.
At Portman Road. White collar was always seen as the joke of boxing.
Yeah.
Oh, you had a white collar fight on the dad's bod and stuff like that. That's what he did. And you look at him and I would say he's a top heavyweight.
Top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 10.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Just makes you think. But it makes you see, it shows people you don't need these crazy long amateur careers.
Not in the heavyweight division.
Not in the heavyweight division.
In any other division, I'll say yes. Because it requires more skill, more movement, not just brute power and force. But the heavyweight division, if you can crack, you've got a chance. And that boy can hit.
He can hit. He's got a good jab. He's got decent speed. He's just got the fundamentals you want in a heavyweight. You don't need 150 amateur
And
fights.
I also feel because he didn't fight as an amateur, he doesn't revert back to an amateur kind of style.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like when
that.
he gets hit, he wants to take your head off. Very Nigel Benn-esque, and I like that. Whereas an amateur kind of, they get hit, they kind of assess things a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, fuck that. I need you hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
Who was it? Was it Nick Webb who hit him with a... And Nick Webb was a good amateur.
Yeah.
He
Big
hit
boy
him
as
with a
well.
hard shot. And as soon as that shot went, he was like, you're dead.
Red mist descend. Same thing with Nathan Gorman.
That was another one.
And obviously the Fraser Clark one I'm never going to forget in my life.
Oh, man, that was bad.
The fact Fraser's fighting again even surprised me. I thought that could be that.
So did I.
That punch and the way in which it kind of
looked like he
dented
had a
his
stroke.
face. It looked like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, very, very scary. So yeah, we're going to get some Fabio Wardley news, I think, on Saturday. Fabio Wardley's with me on stage, people, on Saturday for the DAZN Queensbury shows. I think he's going to announce something. In fact, I know what it is, but I'm trying my hardest not to reveal it because I don't want to get sacked. But I know exactly who he's fighting, and I think you guys are going to like it, honestly. It isn't Kurat Pulev, I'll tell you that now. For a fact, it's not Pulev. Because a lot of talk about Pulev.
I know.
I'm almost happy it isn't Pulev. Because I think the person who it is, I think it's a much more exciting fight. But, before I get in trouble, let's move on. Let's move on. Joe JOYCE-FILIP Hrgovic.
I've changed my mind on that one.
What do you mean? What did you have before?
I was going with Filip Hrgovic to win this fight on points.
Okay.
I'm going with Filip Hrgovic to win by stoppage.
Why?
Because I just look at Joe JOYCE and I think, oh my God, you really do. People have been talking about how he sounds, and I've been saying, I don't think he sounds that bad. He didn't sound good in the press conference today.
Did he not?
I didn't think he sounded good at all. And I went back last night. I didn't have much on, so I went back and watched him against Chisora. I even went back and just looked through a couple of the rounds of the Cash Ali fight, not even the knockout.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
What the hell happened?
Is this all? This isn't just Zhili Zhang knockout defeats.
I don't think so.
This is accumulation
this has to be sparring.
This is sparring, and this is even wins. This is it. It's the punishment in the wins. I was there for Carlos Takam.
Yeah.
There, ringside.
I remember
and
that.
Takam hit him so clean, so many times I was thinking, oh my God. But obviously he won the fight. So you must forget it. You must forget the punishment when someone wins.
Joe Parker, he took loads of shots.
And we know how big a puncher Parker is.
And we do. He's
Dubois took shots off Dubois. So even in the wins, he's not escaping without taking punishment, let alone the defeats.
I don't think Hrgovic is... I would say Hrgovic is on par with maybe Parker, power-wise, maybe a little bit harder. I mean, Joe had confidence in his chin then. That chin's been dented.
Yeah. What happens? How does that... I'd love to know, I'm not a scientist. Like, how does that happen? How does it just crack like that and it can never be rebuilt?
Well, it'd be like, imagine your car door. It's solid, but you hit it enough times, you're going to dent it. You're not going to get the dent out.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be that little bit weaker. And I would imagine that's Joe JOYCE. What bugs me, I was going to say a different word, but it does bug me. When he fought Dubois, he took some shots, but he was more wary of defense. He used his feet in that
100%,
fight.
dude.
He can still do that. What the hell?
100% do. Can he at 39?
Well, not now, but he could have done it in some of his other fights.
And I'd love to know the weight when he was fighting Dubois, because he's massive now. Remember he came in nearly he tried to do the size thing with Zhang, and he came in the first fight, I think, nearly 300 pounds.
No. Did you remember the first fight he came in, like, by his standards, light?
That's it. In the
and
second
everyone
fight,
blamed it on him being too light. So he went like mad heavy for the second fight. It was even worse.
Yeah. He must... I mean, this guy, I spoke to him. I did the face-off for Dillian White and Joe JOYCE. Obviously, it's not going to come out. It's funny, actually, because I did a Cody react poll. Maybe I'm to blame. That didn't happen either.
They don't want you to get famous.
They don't want me to get famous. But I did it, and he was talking about the fact that He beat Dubois, stopped him. Beat Parker, stopped him. And all of a sudden, they're number 2 and number 3 in the heavyweight division. If Fury is no longer doing his thing. Do you know how crazy that must fuck with your mind? Knowing that the guy that I stopped 4 or 5 years ago is now the IBF heavyweight champion. And the guy that I beat to a pulp in Joseph Parker is on the cusp of a world title fight and has just beat Zhang Wilder and Bacoli. I
remember when he fought Cash Ali thinking, hang on a minute, what's got to be going on in your mind? You're fighting in a leisure centre in Birmingham and one of the guys has just fought in Saudi Arabia, that was Parker, and the other guy, Danny Dubois, is going to be fighting in Saudi Arabia for millions in a couple of weeks' time. And you beat them both. How does that happen? One of them wasn't even 2 years ago. It's crazy, but it just shows in boxing. I mean,
in the heavyweight
division, it can change like that.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, it's changed the wrong way. It's gone the wrong way, and he's missed out on.
Parker and Dubois had other things in their game. Joe was just brute force. And here's another thing people don't talk about: Abel Sanchez in Hrgovic's team. Joe Joyce was trained by him at one point.
He was. I didn't even know that, by the way. Yeah. I didn't know Abel Sanchez with Hrgovic. Interested. We haven't really spoke about Hrgovic, have we? It's been a lot of talk about Joe. Pressure's on Hrgovic as well, you know. I mean, he vanished.
He did vanish.
To the point where I thought, is he retired? Because he literally just...
I thought that as well.
Nothing.
There was no social media post, anything off the radar.
Nothing. He's now taking this on... Not short notice. I mean, if you're a heavyweight, you should be able to take a fight on 5 weeks' notice, but he's taking this on 4 or 5 weeks' notice. He has to win as well.
Oh, yeah, he has to win. And, he's younger.
I think he will win, by the way.
But yeah, so do I. He's younger, but he's not much younger. And, you know, Frank Warren signed him, so Frank knows. I think Frank's already kind of in his mind, kind of knows what's going to happen. But, listen, he looked... This wasn't just the Dubois thing. He looked shaky for years.
Who? Hrgovic.
Hrgovic.
Yeah.
Zhang. I know you feel Zhang won that fight.
Zhang did win that fight. I'm sorry.
It was proper. It was close, but
and he didn't look good against McKean either.
Looked awful against McKean. He chose Mark Demori as an opponent. Like David Haye beat him on his comeback 8 years prior. That kind of sums it all up. I think that he needed that loss. I think that he needed that wake up call that just coasting through these fights is not good enough. He's gone. He's been training. I remember even before they announced the fight, he was training in the snow. He's up there in Big Bear Gym. Abel Sanchez does not play around.
Ain't fucking around. You come to my house.
Yeah,
you're gonna train. When you go to Big Bear, there's no way you can't be in shape.
No. At that altitude, it's going to mess with you. But Abel Sanchez, he puts you through hell, so you can go through hell in that ring.
I just hope that, because you remember when Haye was getting ready for Fury. Yeah. And he brought in Wilder and Hrgovic.
Oh, yeah.
And Hrgovic back then, the stories about him as being like the best sparring partner you could possibly have. And the next Klitschko is getting compared to Klitschko a lot. I just hope he's not one of those fighters that are sort of there for sparring. That he can bring it to the real lights, underneath the bright lights, and perform. Because so far I've not seen it. And I've always said this, I like Hrgovic, but I've always said this, I don't get the hype. Because I remember prior to the Dubois defeat, everyone was like, oh, he's that guy, he's that boogeyman. I'm like, have I missed something with him? I don't see it.
There was moments in fights where he, like little spurts, you'd see, oh, that looks good.
Yeah, and very clean with his punches.
Very clean, and then he'd just but then he was fighting absolute who's he. And once he stepped up, it was like, okay, this guy, what's going on here? Is there a mental block or something? I wonder, is he one of those gym fighters?
Hope not.
We've heard of them, but some of them can get out of that. Some of them can put that performance in the ring when something happens. Maybe the loss is what you need it. Yeah,
and this is a big stage, it's a big fight. Joe Joyce is the name, regardless of the fact he's lost 3 of his last 5, whatever. He is a name in the sport. You beat Joe Joyce, all of a sudden, he's probably been watching from afar thinking, I need to get back on these Riyadh season cards. He knows the paycheck's a bit different, all these Ring magazine cards. So I'm going for Hrgovic to get the job done. I think he stops. I'm with you. I think he stops Joe Joyce.
And one last thing on Hrgovic. People talk about, we did it here, about him not looking great in a couple of fights. He looked great early on against Dubois.
Dude, he just
didn't pace himself.
And all of a sudden, that defeat doesn't look as bad.
Nope.
Because he didn't get stopped. It was kind of stopped off cuts.
Yeah, stopped off cuts, but never down, never close to coming down.
Yeah, and he took some big shots, and he landed some big shots. So he's probably thinking, the defeat wasn't as bad as everyone remembers it. Like, I watched that fight. For the first 4 rounds, he's winning. It's like, my God, Dubois can't move his head.
Yeah, he just made a lot of mistakes in terms of not pacing himself.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it. David Adeley versus the table thrower.
The table throwing.
Jimmy TKV. This has almost become the main event. That always happens.
Yeah,
most people now are interested in this more than they are Joe Joyce versus Hrgovic. And I like it. It's for the British heavyweight title. David Adeley is coming off a really good win against Dakers. I mean, just sent him to
something
another
else, wasn't it?
fucking realm. With Adam Booth now, I think he's looking a bit more confident. Jamie looks like he's lost a bit of weight.
He does, doesn't he? He looks trimmed down.
Yeah, he
really
looks like he's trimmed down. What a good chief support.
I can't wait for this fight. I'm favouring David Adeley.
Yeah.
I think TKV, he's never really set the world alight in some of his fights. He really had. He fought a guy Atelma fought in one of Atelma's early. They both went the distance with him. Atelma fought him with one hand, basically.
Okay.
And Jamie TKV, he won it clearly, but, he didn't do it as convincingly as Atelma, so it shows the levels between those. I think there's a lot of beef there. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
I'm telling you now, I was there at TalkSport. No cameras. They were going to go at each other. And this is outside the building. Like, this is so there's no one there. They're not doing it for people trying to
cameras
sell
are
the
there.
fight. No, they're just going to go at each other. So that table flipping thing, there's definitely a bit of hatred between those two. Like Adeley comes across as a bit of a bully.
He does.
He's my
He
guy, but he's a bit
does.
of a bully.
He definitely
can
does.
intimidate you. And it's almost like TKV's decided, no, fuck that. You're not bullying me anymore.
Yeah.
So I like it. I don't mind it. I hate press conferences that are boring and dull and no one wants to do anything. Sell it for us. Yeah. And they've sold it.
But they literally, when I seen that clip, as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh my God, I want to see this fight.
There you go.
It was done.
It works. It
was done.
Obviously I'm working on the show and I was looking down the list and I was like, oh my God, Mark Chamberlain's fighting.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I forgot. Like, literally, it's weird for Mark. He's gone from
Turkey's favourite
to and this is it, right? You lose one. Yeah, it kind of felt like that. Like, honestly, when I saw his name, I was like, oh, Mark's fighting there. And look, good luck to him. The Josh Padley defeat came as such a big surprise for me.
Well,
he was on the cusp of a world title fight.
Very good fighter.
Yeah.
No shame in that.
No shame. But he was supposed to fight Berenchik. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah.
Remember,
obviously, Keyshawn took the fight and won. If Mark came through Padley, he was going to fight for a world title. See how crazy the sport of boxing is. Like, you're there, you beat Padley, you fight Berenchik. Potentially beats Berenchik, who knows?
Potentially.
All of a sudden, you lose, you're now there. Berenchik fights Keyshawn Davis, your world title hopes are gone.
And now you're just like, oh, I didn't know he was on this card. You're one of them.
It's
mental the way boxing is.
It really is mental. Liam Cameron, Ben Whittaker.
Oh.
What the hell was going on there? Can you explain to the audience, please, what the fuck's going on?
From what I gather, the fight was sent to Liam Cameron. It had 12 rounds in, 12-round contest. Liam Cameron, happy with that, sends it on.
Is it a title fight?
I don't believe it is.
Why is it 12 then?
That is a good point. Yeah, unless there's a WBA tricket title.
Yeah,
because some of those tricket titles, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 12, really, does it not, either way. But they signed it happy. And I'm assuming, just by what I've heard, they were like, oh, no, we wanted 10 rounds. And Liam Cameron's like, no, you said 12 rounds. I want 12 rounds because he said that he was blowing Ben Whittaker after 5 rounds in Saudi.
Wow.
So I'm not going to give you that extra 6-9 minutes off. I want the 12 rounds. It favours me. That's what we agreed. And we're sticking to it. And Frank Warren is saying the same. Whereas Team Boxer are like, no, we want 10 rounds and this, that. So there's a bit of a stalemate.
Yeah, I can tell you now what's going to happen, people. This is a fact. Ben and Boxer are going to have to pay Liam a bit of money. Basically. They're going to have to pay him a bit of money. Like, Liam's going to agree to to 10, but they're going to have to pay him to agree.
Exactly. He's not going to, like everything in life, they can't just say, oh, sorry about that. No.
Contract's a contract. If you've signed a contract for 12 rounds, and this is Ben Shalom and Boxer's fault, if you've signed a contract for 12, Liam's in his rights to say, no.
Yeah.
Well, fight's off.
Fights off.
Which is risky to do. I think Ben is really big for a light heavy.
He is very big for a light heavy.
Very big for a light heavy. I look at his legs. Sometimes, you look at someone's height, and I think Ben's about 6'2", 6'3", but then it's his legs. And I'm like, well, there's not much fat around, and he's got big legs, he's solid, good torso. I don't know if he struggles to make light heavy, but, well, of course he does actually. But I just think he has to make sure that in between fights, he's on weight.
Exactly.
That's
one of
the
them.
issue.
He can't let loose. He can't balloon up. He has to be constantly on that fine line. And that can take it out of you as well. Because you're constantly just training yourself into the ground just to make that weight. I also think that he did look the gas that first fight. But I think one of the reasons is he probably got it into his head, this is going to be an easy fight.
I did.
And never mentally prepared himself for this.
Yeah.
And that can fatigue you.
He did, dude. I spoke to him. And I'm the biggest Ben Whittaker fan. I still think there's a star there. I know I don't write people off that quick. And now with Andy Lee as well. Andy Lee, whatever he touches now, seems to turn into gold, doesn't it? So I think there's a star there. And I think he went into that fight already thinking about who I was going to fight next.
Who's this? When's my world title fight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
which is crazy.
Then was like, oh, this guy's better than I thought. Oh, I didn't plan for that. And then we all know what happened. I think going into this fight, I think he's going to win.
Oh, do you?
10 or 12. I think he'll win.
Points.
Oh, points
Does
either
he have
way.
the punch power?
I haven't seen it. That's one thing I will say about Ben Whittaker. He may have that problem moving forward. The punch power is just not there.
And if you don't have the pop in the light heavyweight division,
Or
in the
cruiserweight.
land of people that can pop, you better be Dimitri Bivol.
Even
And
Dimitri
I
Bivol
don't
has some
think
decent power.
and even Dimitri Bivol has a bit of power. And I don't think Ben's Dimitri Bivol.
Nope.
So, and you look at the rest of them, they all can punch.
Every one of them.
Benavidez,
Buatsi,
Buatsi,
Yard.
Callum Smith, Yard, Beterbiev. All of the guys within the top 10 can crack.
Every one of them.
So yeah, he needs to find a bit of punch power. I saw you do a video the other day talking about Conor Benn's size.
Oh, he looks
Which is
massive.
interesting.
doesn't
Does look big, doesn't he?
looks huge.
Yeah, I was like, raw. Like, I'd love to know what he walks around at. Like, you know, everyone's been talking about the fact that he's going up a couple of weight classes, although he isn't really.
No.
But I'd love to know what he's coming down from to make 160s. He looked like a guy that was about 175.
I was literally, that 175. That's what I'm going to say. No. I reckon he's about 175. Do you bear in mind, Kell Brook, we always said he was a big welterweight. He was cutting down from about that. So Conor Benn, he's not even a welterweight anymore.
Yeah.
So if Kell Brook was cutting that to welterweight, I reckon he's in around that.
What was your pickup for that fight?
What was my pickup for that fight?
No, pick.
Oh, my pick for that fight is still Chris Eubank Jr.
Okay, and you've not done a change my mind video yet.
I've not done a change. I'm not going to change my mind on that.
Chris points.
Chris Eubank Jr. on points, and I will not be changing my mind on that.
Okay, cool. I'm going for Ben stoppage.
Now, I guarantee you will change your mind on that one.
You really think?
I guarantee. You might not say, you won't say it to me, of course, but I guarantee you there'll be I've changed my mind. Oh, I thought all along Eubank would win.
No, I'm going for Ben. I think Ben could chin him. I
think so?
I really do think Ben could chin him. And I'm not just saying that just to be different from you. I really do think Ben in the early rounds could catch him. I do think, as much as I think the weight's a bit of a problem for Eubank.
It definitely is.
I think it's a bit of a problem. And he's 35.
I think if he's smart.
I remember watching his fight as well in Riyadh.
He didn't look good.
He didn't look great.
No, he didn't look good.
Didn't look great.
Did not look great against Sarah Metten, who can't punch.
Who's basically a retired fighter.
European level at best. Yeah,
then again, we don't know what Ben is. We don't even know what level Ben is.
Yeah,
we haven't got a clue.
We look at Dan and we say, oh, you fought a European level fighter. He's never even fought a British title.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. All right, let's end the show on a couple of interesting stories. Billy Joe Saunders announces his retirement. See, there's always been these whispers about him coming back. What weight? Now he said, you know what? I'm done.
Yep, it was in a Seconds Out interview where he was saying that he was actually offered the Eubank Jr. fight for, in his words, millions and millions. And he's like, why should I come out of retirement, lose all this weight when I know I'm not going to win this fight?
Oh, wow.
That's pretty incredible that like he refused those millions because he knew, look,
honesty.
I'm in no shape. There's no point. I've had no fights in 4 years. I'm not going to win this fight.
Was that 4 years ago, the Canelo fight?
Come this May, it's 4 years. 4 years since he fought Canelo. That's crazy.
What a massive fight that was.
It was epic.
Like, that was in a stadium, if I remember. That was just before I joined, so I wasn't working on it. I remember
Stadium,
thinking, so that was in May. I joined the Zone in July.
Oh, man.
So I think
2
June,
months
July,
earlier.
2 months earlier for Eddie Hearn's back garden stuff.
Yeah.
It was 2 months earlier. And I remember seeing Billy Joe walk to the ring, and I almost felt like he's walking like a man that's about to be slaughtered.
That's what I thought.
It was that intimidating. Like, normally, they walk to the ring and everyone's behind him.
Yeah.
But they made them do the ring walks by themselves. And I was like, this is trouble. I think it's a shame. Honestly, I do think it's a shame.
Underachiever.
Yeah, and I've seen this with a lot of Canelo opponents that lose. They just vanish. Some of them just literally vanish, like Jamel Charlo.
Edgar Berlanga fighting those type of guys.
Berlanga, exactly. But at least he's fighting. Billy Joe, there's always rumors about him coming back, and you just said underachiever, and he's a 2-weight world champion.
I think he should have been a 3-weight world champion. I think Billy Joe, if he had discipline, he could have been a beast at 154. He's never even big at middleweight.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah.
He could have gone from that. He could have done more at middleweight because he did, like, apart from the Lemieux fight and the Andy Lee fight, he didn't really do much at middleweight.
Yeah.
And then he goes to super middle. And, you know, who did he fight? He fought his 2 title defenses were against Martin Murray and Casillas.
Yeah.
Both of those were really middleweights.
Yeah.
So he never even scratched the surface. The one time he fought a super middleweight in Canelo, done.
It's a shame, isn't it? It
is a shame.
a shame.
There was a lot more in there.
Yeah, I hate when... that's why I always give so much respect to Amir Khan. And I know this isn't an Amir Khan video, but the fact that we've seen him get chinned.
Yeah.
And he always has big fights in America still. Like, always, like, there was a time when he felt like every fight was a big fight. So he's not just, like a lot of our Brits, one and done.
Yeah.
One and done. Billy Joe was one and done.
He was one and
done in
he
terms of a
wanted
big
that
fight in
big
America.
payday.
And
He got it, and that's it.
Vanish. Whereas Amir Khan went time and time again.
Never mind the
Amir Khan's
setbacks.
last 2 fights were fucking Terence Crawford and Kell Brook. He lost 2 at the end of your career.
That's incredible when you think about it, really, isn't it?
Crazy, honestly.
And he lost them both, and it never stopped him. Khan just wanted to prove something.
Yes.
But Khan was always one of them. He never wanted just that one big fight in America. He wanted to be the guy.
Yeah.
Different mindset.
Yeah, that was it, innit? Different mindset. And he had some incredible, the Marcus Maidana fight.
That is the best fight you will ever see.
Dude,
from
how
Amir
the
Khan.
hell, even to this
Round
day,
10.
I'm like, how is he still standing?
Round 10. We say Amir Khan's chinny. Marcus Maidana could punch.
Yeah.
And he stood up to that. I don't know how he did it, but he did
Yeah,
it.
I remember he's had some, again, not a Khan video, but Devin Alexander performance.
that was
where he
the
absolutely
best.
schooled Alexander. Schooled
Imagine
him.
him that night against Floyd.
It should have been him against Floyd. Remember, it was supposed to be him, not Marcus Maidana. It was supposed to be Amir Khan. There was a poll. Floyd put up a poll and he said, who do you want me to fight? Maidana or Khan? Khan won it. Floyd chose Maidana.
That would have been an epic fight.
Yeah, because of Amir Khan's hand speed, it would have been. All right, let's end on Paddy Donovan, Lewis Crocker. The IBF has said, you know what? Do it again.
Do you know what? It's very rare.
It's kind of strange.
It's very rare that a fighter launches an appeal and they're successful.
Yeah.
And they were this time. Now, I'm going to say it. I thought the disqualification was just...
Yeah, you know what? Someone actually said this on Twitter, and I was like, they're right.
They are
So how
right.
can a fighter get disqualified for punching after the bell, and you
Well
launch
after
an
the
appeal way after the bell, and you've been doing your heads and your elbows, and the referee says, and the IBF say, no, do it again.
It doesn't make any sense
Kind
to
of
me.
weird, actually, isn't it?
I guess they're probably hoping on technicalities. Oh, we couldn't hear it or something like this, that, and the other. And maybe because
I
it's
think
not
they've
a
looked
dodgy
at the
decision.
fight and they thought he was winning.
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like,
that's
and
it.
they would never say that, but I think they looked at him and thought, well, he was winning it easily.
I reckon they would have had that punch not happened and round it ended, I reckon they'd have pulled Lewis Crocker
Yeah.
after that round.
I think that's why they've been successful, because Lewis Crocker was basically done.
Yeah, he was going to lose.
He was going to lose, and that's why they probably pulled it. And it helps when, if you're Paddy Donovan, you've got quite a
I think
big
as well,
team
if you're
behind
the IBF, it'd be like someone losing a dodgy decision. You don't want, your champion to fight a mandatory who really shouldn't be there.
you. Yeah, you don't want Ennis or Stanionis to fight Lewis Crocker when you kind of know he really doesn't deserve that.
He was
shot.
losing the fight. He gets away with it on a disqualification. I mean, come on.
Makes no sense. G-Man, episode
It's-
10 in the books, brother.
As always, it's a play. We are 10 episodes. We're double digits in.
Double digits, and I'm proud. And we're gonna get to 100 people. Trust me, this is here to stay. We will make this work. I wish there was a fly. I wish you guys were a fly on the wall to see how we've made a few of these episodes work. I mean,
They haven't been
Jesus.
easy sometimes, but we've always got there.
But we've always got them done. Thanks as always to my man G-Man. Thank you to my cameraman, the guy that's more than my cameraman. He bloody does everything. The editor, the guy that switches the cameras, and Nathaniel behind us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and make sure you subscribe to G-Man's channel as well. The link is in the description. Peace.
Peace.